the street committee at 4:01. It booted. It did a minute ago, and I heard it. Well, it said we're live. It's recording. It says 19 seconds.
Yeah.
It's just on John, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We can move ahead.
That's fine.
He doesn't mind.
So we have one item on the agenda for the street committee, and that is the request from Babe Ruth Baseball to close some roads. Because they have been awarded the state all-stars tournament in July. So they are requesting from July, it looks like July 9th. Evening of July 9th from 5 to 10 p.m. and then all day and evening on the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th. And they want to close the two roads on either side of the baseball field. So River and Sargent, and then Raymond and Sargent. And then there's part of, I think, Nolan too, right? To the corner of Nolan, Raymond.
Raymond, Sergeant Nolan, River.
Yeah.
To Raymond.
So basically that L around the baseball field. So I'm definitely in support of closing the road. Go through Frank's, right?
Yes, my thing would be show through Frank, you coordinate, but also in Frank's will know this too, but you gotta put a sign up at the top of the hill on south.
For detour, road
Yeah,
closed.
because people will come over the hill and not see it and can't turn down the window. So then they have to like, turn out so they got it.
I do by the church
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Notification nobody.
Frank knows all that though.
He should-
Oh, yeah.
So then we just contact Babe Ruth and say coordinate, right?
Yep.
If it's approved.
Yeah, we'll just take it to council.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And that is all on the agenda unless somebody else has something else. Is there any public comment? No public comment? Okay, then we will close the meeting at 4:03 p.m.
All right, we'll convene the FUPR committee. Item 1 is a discussion of wage increase for part-paid firefighter.
Well,
Mayor, I assume you have something on
This
this?
came to me when we were interviewing, candidate for a part-paid firefighter. And so, I asked what the wage is, and I had spoken with, the fire chief, Mr. Feistell. And he wasn't positive exactly what people were making, so I got the information, from finance. So they get $11 an hour when they're in training. And that is mostly the amount of money that they're paid when they get paid once a year. It mostly comes from training. So that amount of money is used to pay for their retirement system. So if they don't make enough money in a year to pay for their retirement, then the city kicks in the rest of the money. So I felt that, and of course this is open for discussion, I felt that that is barely minimum wage for training. And I thought we should at least try to increase their training up to what the pool cashiers get, which is $12 an hour. Then when they're an emergency responder, when they're going to a fire, it's $16.50 an hour. When they're a captain, it's $18.50 an hour. And then the assistant chief, $19.50, and then the chief gets $20.50 an hour. These are when they're responding to emergency situation. So I really didn't have a problem with those amounts, but I do feel that, you know, this makes these guys in training the lowest paid employees that we have. And
On the average, how much of a difference would that be?
I-
It's $1.
Well, I've been waiting 16 years
oh,
to
good.
talk about this.
Okay.
and back when certain somebody in the public called me out and wanted me to resign because of supposedly conflict of interest, but so, and this is something looking forward for John to keep in mind.
Mhm.
So the whole thing with the city of Glendive Park paid firefighters is that we get retirement,
Mhm.
and you have to put in basically 20 years to get full retirement.
Right.
So it's actually funny that the wages and the hourly rates don't really matter because our retirement contributions per year are tied to the full timer. So our retirement is based off the full timer retirement. So
good to know.
when the full timer retirement system, if that contribution goes up for inflation and whatever else, so does the part pays.
Yeah.
And so that amount, like when I first got on the department, the annual contribution that a part paid firefighter needed to make was like $575 or something like that. Then it was 700 and some. Now I do believe it's 900 and some a year. So the whole deal is if you sign up as a part paid firefighter, you get retirement. And that's basically the only thing you're getting. And people aren't signing up to be firefighters, part paid, they're volunteer, putting money in the way. But it's, so that you do have, and it is a very good retirement system on the full-time firefighters, which is part of, the state, PERS, but it's a separate account underneath PERS, and it's very flush and it's a good retirement system. So the problem is, and what we should be doing is tying the part paid wage to the full-time wage. So if the full-timers through contract negotiations go up 3%, then so should the volunteers.
Okay.
So that it's, because actually we can't raise it enough to cover the contributions.
Right.
And so by our own rules, somewhat tied to state standards and national standards, is you have to put in 30 hours a year minimum, being a firefighter to be able to respond on stuff. And that's the minimum you have to put in. And anything less than that, and you can be eventually through the process, you can be, if you don't show up, then at least do 30 hours of training. So if you even do that calculation, 30 hours times even $15 an hour, it does not come up to $900.
Yeah.
So even though if we do choose to raise the part paid wages, it's still not going to cover the contributions. So even though I voted on a wage increase a year ago, no, I guess it might have been right before, I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't go in the firefighter's pocket at the end of the year because it's just making a dent into the what they have to offset.
Retirement,
Right.
yeah.
And so what's been happening every year, that contribution has grown faster than what the firefighters are getting paid. The city is just pitching in more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And so again, I think the part paid should be increasing at least at the same curve that the full timers are, so that that gap isn't so far away. But that's why, like I said, we could raise the training rate to $20 an hour. And that's still not gonna cover the
30.
contribution.
It'd
Yeah,
be
exactly.
give or take.
So I do, although I do think we should raise that wage, it's still, it doesn't give anybody one extra dollar in their pocket at the end of it.
So
Where
we
does
Especially
it,
for this side of the town, which isn't typically that busy. Like West Glendive, they're out on fire calls every day. Those guys have an opportunity. I was on there for 8.
Yep.
They can make some pretty good coin and getting paid once a year. December was a pretty good Christmas check. But for over here,
Huh.
you'd have to pay them $30 an hour for $900. The contribution. Oh,
And then it gets, you can really get into the weeds on it. And in Glendive and Lewistown, I think are the only two cities that are set up this way in the state of Montana. And for the fact that we pay lots of which goes to sleep into it's always, and then Port Arlington and everything else, it's always there.
and we're looking at changing that possibly.
Yeah, but
would that, if we paid them more on that, where would that money come out of? Is that just out of the fire budget?
general fund?
No.
yeah,
Well, general fund, but the fire account. Yeah.
The 30 hours and all this, it's all based on the calendar year.
Right.
even though cities run on fiscal year.
Yep.
Okay, so, Mayor, would this take a resolution to, if we were gonna do what Mr. Coon suggested, where somehow we could tie it to the full timers in terms of if they get this increase, you get this increase. I'm not against, and I would also would recommend that we put in a one-time increase to bring it up to something not so, to my opinion, embarrassing. Like, let's say $15 an hour for the training wage, and then you went with that it's tied to it. Would that require a resolution?
I'm not certain. The way that I was looking at it was when we do the fire negotiations, then we could add that to the whatever we come up with. But, with what I'm hearing Rhett say, that even if we brought them up to $15 an hour, the city's still gonna be kicking that money back into the fund, so,
Do those, sorry,
oh, that's okay, go
does
ahead.
that retirement contribution come out of a different fund than the wages would, or? Second. So
Second.
we're not really, we're just manipulating.
Exactly.
Right,
exactly.
right.
And that's,
So-
that's what I was saying, basically, by approving any part-paid firefighter wages in the past, does not give a part-paid firefighter
Money
one
in there.
more dollar.
Nobody's buying milk.
So
But
can
it
I,
does look more just, it's, the $11 to me is embarrassing, and it might turn people away from actually looking into it as a part-time paid. I know they don't do it for the money, but at the same time, nobody wants to be insulted.
Right.
We change what the city has to pay,
no,
Right,
Right.
unless the guy went to every.
And then you can dive into it. It's even more complicated.
The part paid get overtime on a Jordan fire or anything? No.
so maybe John and I can talk about this and look at how we could maybe do it and then bring it to the council. Because I
Yeah, 'cause
just,
does it
I
even
mean-
fit into our budget to do? an
It-
increase?
it's there
It'll
either
affect
way.
the budget because
Yeah.
we're paying
I mean, we're paying it either way.
Taken out of the state bucket.
Yeah.
But no, I meant if we buy the 3%, is that gonna affect the budget then? That's- okay.
Could we do that though then, where we, so then a year
I'm
from
not
now, we're
sure.
not having a discussion, or 3 years or whatever, that,
Exactly.
That we shot ourselves in the foot by saying yes to something.
Well, no, just.
well, no, that it should adjust to it.
Mhm.
Because like Rhett said, and that's all, as long as the state has the 30 hours of training, because the point is, if it got too high and they didn't have to do so many hours, then then you're saying, well, you're gonna get your enough paid for your retirement without actually doing the required training. That, to be honest, if you're part paid, I would hope that would be very valuable. We're putting people in difficult situations.
Talks about the bare minimum, 30 hours is showing up on.
Yeah,
training.
and that's it, and anything. less than
Right.
that-
That's what I'm saying. So they have that requirement. So then if we,
So
whatever it is, that's,
can I just play devil's advocate? And I agree, the $11 looks and sounds horrible.
Mhm.
If we raise their salaries and they're not getting any more out of pocket, aren't we just adding to their taxable income at the end of the year? I mean, what benefit to them? I only see downside to getting a bigger W-2. Now, we're not talking thousands and thousands of dollars. I get that, but
Yeah. Well, in that also, yeah, and yeah, I mean, I agree, because then, especially too, so like me, who puts in, or, actually Brett Stinnett, before he passed, put in close to the most hours on the park. So he would put in enough hours to legitimately earn his $900 retirement.
Mhm.
But then you had somebody that only put in the minimum hours and they earned the same retirement.
Mhm.
So he put in twice the amount of hours and only got the same payment as somebody who put in half the amount of hours.
Well, I think this is a lot more complicated than we thought when
Yeah.
we said, let's bring it forward to FUPR and just see what they say. So, I don't even know if I'd recommend we take it to council at this point.
No.
I would
I
not.
wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So we could just table.
sometimes.
Sometimes you can
Yeah, if it pops, yeah. The thing is, it's not meant for your.
you only did 30 hours and it's only made me $33, but we contributed this much.
Well, that part isn't, it's not related to the firefighters, which I think
It will
it
be.
should.
So we started doing that on the regular monthly paychecks, showing the employer contribution for everything. So at the end of the year, they will start now
Yeah.
this year, see that.
Cause I think that,
Yeah.
that's.
So what do they pay taxes on then? So the guy that did the minimum and Brett, you're saying they both ended up with the same amount of income on their W?
No.
Their income was proportional, but the city just pitched in,
The same amount.
like, for example, with Brett, the city pitched in $0 to cover his retirement versus somebody else, the city pitched in possibly $600.
And that's not counted as income on their, the person that got the amount pitched in?
And it's a
That's a just
withholding,
incentive.
We've talked about that before, how it wasn't really a huge,
right?
I can't remember, it's 2 weeks. It's the amount that the city contributes. Isn't
It's usually a few $100.
You mean per person?
Uh,
Not for the whole group?
no, not for the whole group, but it's frequently a couple $100 for somebody. But anyway, we should probably table it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
try to figure out,
Okay, Pound Puppies contract.
I think everybody has one of these. I don't know if I gave you one.
I do.
So as you're aware, the Pound Puppies are asking for $2,000 for 6 months of service. They were we were paying them $1,500. And so one of the concerns was that they have only space for 4 dogs right now, and they have 5. And none of them are city or county impounded dogs. These are owner surrenders. So they've been turning away the dog that the police pick up. So I did put it in here in about this, maybe it's the second paragraph, the last couple sentences, that it says the Simmons must provide 24-hour service to each agency and accept any dog brought by either agency. And basically the other things are kind of the same. They're able to charge the owners. I think they charge $40 a day. Then, of course, all this could be taken care of if people would simply license their dog for $20. Then when it gets picked up, yes, you'll get a dog at large ticket, but the dog will be brought home to you. It will not be taken to the pound. So that is what I think people are not realizing, especially these frequent flyers whose dogs are out all the time and they complain about the fees. But if you get your dog license by the end of March, it's only $10. And what an investment of 10 or 20 bucks to know that if your dog runs away or gets loose, that yes, you'll get a dog at large ticket, but it won't go to the pound because it'll have a tag and we know who the owner is.
What's the process when the dog comes to the pound?
Well, then they try to contact the owner. But now it will be that we'll hold the dog there for 96 hours. And if the owner can't be located or it's not able to be adopted in that time, it goes over to the vet and will be put to sleep.
And when they, if they're contacted or they contact the Pound Puppies, there's a city police violation ticket.
Oh,
with it?
yes, you'll still get a dog at large ticket.
And
but
then they
plus
go
you
to
pay-
court, and then at court they have to buy a license
And they have to buy a license and
in
they'll pay,
addition to the fine and everything.
and they pay
Pay for it.
$40 a day for the 4 days that
Okay,
their dog
okay.
is there. So that's $160 right there.
Right,
Has the problem been solved, though, that if we had a dog, if we say yes to increasing their wages, that we haven't been able to use the services that we're paying for it? And we bring a dog today to Pound Puppies
They
and
tell
they
me,
take it.
they tell me, yeah.
But if they have room for 4 dogs and
And
they have 5,
There's a sibling dog, there's something that can be put together. So they have to make room for it. And I did meet with them for about an hour and they did agree that they would make room. And they also have a new shed thing that they're going to be able to take 4 more dogs. So it's already at their place. It just hasn't been moved to the right location yet. But, that will allow them to have 8 dogs at a time. So I think in the future, we have looked at the issues and I do feel that they're solved. This $4,000 a year that we're paying, we cannot hire somebody to do this for less. We cannot run our own pound for less. I mean, this is a service that, while maybe not everybody thinks, this is the ideal situation, it is still saving the city quite a lot of money because we simply can't afford to, hire an animal control officer. The police can do it, but
And I get that and I understand that. I still don't think the contract is very clear that they cannot turn away our dogs like they have been.
I thought that sentence clarified it. Thank you. Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I'm just asking for it to
I
go
think
to
we-
council.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm open to the discussion, but the only concern I had with raising the amount was that they weren't taking it.
Mhm.
Exactly.
If we
Yeah.
have it, there's no teeth to it, we could say,
Well, they'll have to sign it and we do, I mean, it is in there that they must provide the service for 24 hours and accept any dog. So,
So-
we had to build a facility. Where we should do this.
I want to give them more money. I'm not arguing that. I think that this is a valuable service that we need. I just want to make sure that we're not paying for a service
that we
with
can't use.
taxpayers' money that we
Yes.
cannot use.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
So then, it's 96 hours and all that to get, there's not a set limit on the number of dogs that the city or the county together could have at any specific time.
Right, because
You
we
see
could
any
end
number
up
in
with
there? I
a
don't
whole
see-
litter of dogs, a whole litter of pups or something that we ought to take out there. We don't know.
Because it doesn't have it, it just 24 hours, so provide 24-hour service, each agency, each dog, so it doesn't limit it to the 4 or 5 or whatever. Hopefully, that would be some kind of crazy thing if it got
Well, we
within a
hope.
short period, a whole number of dogs. But
Yeah.
the apocalypse, okay. We would ask, and I dare do this with the shortage of time, but who let the dogs loose? All right. Request for inventory, so we're taking that to council.
Okay.
Is that okay, John? Okay, because I mean, I appreciate what you said, but I think we're okay with what is there. So we're gonna go ahead then, request for inventories.
This is something that has come forward. Betsy, I guess, I think initiated it and I think we all agreed that it would be helpful. So I have spoken to some of the departments. They do have what they would call an inventory, which is a file of everything they purchased or whatever. So Betsy said, let's wait until September until we try to ask everybody to compile an inventory because as you know, we're doing the audit, we're doing the budget. We have union negotiations with 4 different unions. So these next couple months are very busy. And so I just wanted to bring that forward because I did get an email from Betsy saying that she would be fine waiting until September. Because these next few months are pretty busy and while that would give us some time to be more specific what we're asking people for. And I don't want to make busy work for someone because I mean, if you have something in a file that's a list of your whole inventory, I'm not going to say you need to put it on specifically on a list, but that seemed to be what I was hearing people say that that's what they wanted to see was a list. So that's going to take some time when you think about public works. I mean, public works and the fire department, very different with how much inventory they're going to have, or, you know, even the police and the city court, very different. So I just wanted to bring it forward because I was kind of nagging these guys and I think this gives them a little bit of time and it gives us time to make sure that we're getting what we want to see without making a lot of work for somebody. So,
And you guys, meaning probably John and the mayor,
Mhm.
would look at the forms that you want and the process and
And the
sometimes-
amounts, like we really
Capital
don't want
amount or
stuff
maybe-
that is under $10, I mean, some of these things are, we
It
really
might seem
don't
kind
care.
of cumbersome in the beginning, but it's very beneficial for not just
Oh,
these
sure.
department heads, but even for the taxpayer or concerned citizen, if they want to see, hey, what are we spending all our money on? Well, here you go. Here's an 81-page thing. This is what we got. And I can't think of a reason why we wouldn't want to keep close track of everything that, just not consumable stuff. We don't need to know how much chlorine the pool has, but we definitely would want to know what we got for lawnmowers. And I'm sure he knows. I'm sure
The
they-
people that use those
But
things
maybe get
obviously should
standard
know.
form for each department. They all throw it in one big, so.
Like, we wouldn't necessarily want to have a big supply of chlorine held for year.
I don't think it lasts.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm just saying. That's what I'm saying. The people that use that, like the department head, would need to,
Yeah.
we don't need to know the inventory per se unless there's a financial problem or, something comes to our attention that things aren't being used properly. Do you think they talked in the past of having barcodes on things? I'd say that'd be more, not fixed assets, but I don't care. I'll just let you guys figure that out if you want that. Because somebody said in the past with inventories, they did have, I don't know, you might have talked about it too.
That was in my previous career. We had barcode you could run around with a cell phone or a.
And I think the school had that when I was there at a time, and then,
You guys can figure out what works best for you. I just think it'd be beneficial for us.
And the people I've talked to agree.
Yeah, everybody agrees
Well,
with it. They just need
so-
some guidelines and they need some time. So this gives them till September. And I would say that, by July 1st, we should be able to come up with some guidelines for what we're asking them for.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And also work it into our claims process, that
Oh,
those lists get updated with every claim cycle.
good idea.
Actually, there's software out there now that walk by with your phone. It'll tell you when you bought it, how much it was, and sort of, so you have pictures of it, have the maintenance that you need to do on it. It'll have all. There's programs out there made just for that. If you guys wanted to do that.
okay, Mayor, that'll be just FYI then, and budget for downtown street sweeping signs.
We talked about that because we're
Right.
gonna have to change those signs. And so Rhett said, well, we need to make sure it's in the budget. I talked to Frankie and he said he has lots of money in the budget for signs. And so no problem there. That's another FYI that, we'll get the signs ordered and, there is money in the budget, this year's budget for it. So,
And that's for street sweeping, so I would recommend that no matter how the worker's schedule changes, we're on a 4-day week now, but
Mhm.
things change. We keep the street sweeping similar, so we don't have to change the
Right.
signs in a couple of years, because
yeah,
Things
we're
happen.
asking for them to be on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay.
So it's just the downtown street sweeping district, which is the downtown area as you envision it.
so the council doesn't need to take action.
No, I just
Sorry,
wanted to
budget.
bring that forward because Rhett
Sure.
brought
Oh,
it
yeah.
up and
No,
I
that's
just
fine.
wanted to make
It's mainly to clarify, because parking tickets for people that are parking in our sweeping district.
right during that
And then,
time.
we don't have guys working Friday, so.
Mhm. And then they
I
will
would-
get dismissed.
I would ask Mayor, and it doesn't have to be part of the report or anything, but I've talked to Frank in the past, and sometimes people kind of don't think people hear him, but couldn't we, as a city, have a schedule so that where Jason lives, he goes, oh, we gotta move the vehicle today because they're gonna stream, and I get, stuff
We
happens,
used to,
blah, blah.
because I called once and asked what the schedule was so I could move my car.
Yeah,
But
just
it's the
think-
problems with the street sweeper breaking
I know.
down and everything changes, so. But yes, it would be nice to know in
just
all
if you start
areas.
off with a schedule and it doesn't get, because of it, those things,
Yeah.
but you still started with it, and people can,
Right,
like, I know I would personally move vehicles so that they could
Sure.
get that, because why not help them out so they actually do what they're supposed to, because you're paying for it already. Anyway, if you could talk to somebody about that. Any public comment? All right. Joanne, 4:33, it's a record. For
I'm
me.
impressed. My-
July, maybe I'll be gone. You can break the records.
Questions down. More over record, and we had a meeting